Well, thank you for being here. We have a small group, but this message is important. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our campaign. This morning, you just saw a campaign in regards to power of attorneys, focusing mainly on our seniors population when it comes to senior elder abuse, and specifically financial elder abuse. We want to bring awareness to the public because there's been a growing prevalence of theft and fraud among our seniors population. So with elder abuse, when it comes to financial elder abuse, it's constantly unreported. The reason why we chose the power of attorney is because oftentimes these documents, essentially a document that allows an appointed person to take full control financially for you, who we call the donor. Sadly, of course, with this level of responsibility, it opens the doors for theft and fraud. And in the end, the person that suffers is the senior who has no money for their care. So we often don't get these investigations until it's a little too late. By the time we detect that something's going on, sadly, the senior may have passed away. Number two, the senior has gone into a home, a care home, and all of a sudden the facility is not getting payment for their care. And of course, oftentimes a family member will detect that something's going wrong, 5, 6, 7, up to 10 years of theft from another family member. So oftentimes the power of attorney is used because a senior will lose capacity, or they don't have essentially their legal decision-making any longer due to either dementia or cognitive, they lack the cognition. So that's why oftentimes this legal document allows someone else to be an extension of your decision-making when it comes to finances. This campaign, the main message of this campaign is to tell the public this is a criminal offense. It's not necessarily a civil situation, which many people think it is. It's a criminal offense. It states that in the criminal code under 331 that theft by power of attorney can be prosecuted through the criminal courts within Canada, and you could the consequence could be jail time. We have seen people go to jail for this type of crime. We have a few investigations currently in court where we investigated theft by power of attorney. Of course, I can't get into specifics because it's still before the courts. But what I can tell you is in one of our bigger cases involving well over $1 million of a theft by a family member using a power of attorney. It was over 7 years. The senior was in a care facility, and of course, no one really knew what was going on until the facility noticed the rent wasn't being paid. So they were in arrears of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So after much investigation of 2 years, there were criminal charges on this family member, and it's still before the courts today. So we are talking about something that's happening quite commonly among our victims of senior abuse when it comes to financial abuse. So at this point in time, if there's any questions that you might have, I would love to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yeah, just tell us again exactly the push behind this. Why now? Why is this needed to remind people of this? Just that one big instance? Has there been more and more? What's happening?
No, I mean, if you're looking at a more of a macro level, at a bigger picture, our seniors population has now grown to about 17% in Alberta. And I'm just talking about Alberta. And in the next 10 years, they're extrapolating that population to about 20% of our population that will be senior. You couple that with our unstable economic landscape here. Our working population is shrinking, but yet our seniors population, that depending on the government for income, that's the most stable income coming in right now is for the seniors. That's increasing. So this issue, this campaign probably should have come out a while back. But over the years, we're starting to really notice. People start paying attention that a lot of these thefts are actually occurring by way of power of attorney. We've got to make some changes and bring some awareness. Our awareness is not just for seniors, okay? This campaign is not necessarily just for seniors. It's also for potential perpetrators. And the message is, hey, if you decide to steal by way of power of attorney, you could be looking at a criminal offense. It's also for people who work with seniors, our local police departments throughout the province, and just to bring awareness that, this is not a civil matter. This is actually a criminal offense and needs to be properly investigated and not pushed aside. So there's a wide array of audience here when it comes with this campaign. That's what we're hoping to do with it.
You mentioned power of attorney. Is this victims coming forward with issues due to wills being done up for them?
Yes.
Are they separate?
This is separate. So the best way to explain that is a power of attorney is almost like a will when you are alive, when someone is alive. So they could instruct someone else to handle their finances while they're alive. The moment they pass away, the power of attorney goes away and the will kicks in after that.
All right. Is anyone portraying themselves as lawyers? Is it some of these cases, are they acting like they're lawyers when they're not, or is it what are the how do they get around doing this?
Power of attorneys is a little confusing. They use the word attorney, but it's in the context of the legislation. Attorney just means somebody responsible under that act. So these documents can be written up by a lawyer, but the truth is you don't really need a lawyer to actually write up these documents.
In many cases, is it family members who are kind of abusing the system and stealing from their own parents or grandparents?
Yes. Usually it's somebody that they trust. Majority of the time it is family, from what we can see. Sometimes it's a close friend. So it's somebody in a position of trust or a caregiver that they put that trust in to handle their money going forward.
Is that why many go unreported, because perhaps the senior doesn't want to report their own family member?
Sometimes that happens. Other times is by the time the power of attorney kicks in, the senior has lost their capacity. So they're not able to actually understand that they have actually lost that money. So that's why it takes years before sometimes the file gets detected or the crime gets detected and the file comes to us. And it takes a long time for us to investigate these because we're going back many, many years.
What can people do to protect their elderly loved ones from this happening to them?
Some of the advice that we give our seniors is, number one, maybe assign more than one person as your attorney. There's no rule as far as how many people you assign. Of course, you don't want to assign too many, then they're going to be arguing about your financial decisions. But you may want to also put in accountability clauses in your power of attorney. Maybe every month, whoever is assigned has to take it to your financial planner or your bank to have them review everything. So there's a few suggestions that we've put out there to safeguard that from happening.
And this is a criminal offense, so what could potentially happen to you if you are caught stealing from a loved one?
Yes, the way the court sees it, it's pretty serious. It's almost like a theft, not just from a stranger, but a theft, an internal theft. So court sees it the same way. So they see it from someone stealing from within, like somebody that has in a position of trust, and jail time is what we've seen that has happened to some of these accused from these type of incidents.
Do you have any specific numbers that you can share? How many instances we're seeing here in the city? How does it compare to previous years?
Yeah, the only numbers I can give you, because we're just starting to try to separate the different types of financial abuse. The latest number, the biggest jump we had was in 2022. I'm just looking at our team numbers. In 2022, our overall cases of elder abuse generally is 190, and about 140 of them were financial. And that was almost, prior to that, the financial numbers were 75. So the reason why you had this huge jump is a lot of us suspect during COVID, when all the banks were closed and no one's really paying attention to their financial situation, by the time all the banks were open again, they start realizing, hey, how come there's such a big hole in my bank account, in my investments? So then they start to report it, or a family member starts to report it. Yeah.
Is it recommended to have more than one person who has power of attorney? Like you said, a lot of family members have that role, and they might not be viewed as someone who would steal. So is that the safer bet to have?
There's no real, if you have one trusted person, that's great. Some seniors don't have that. They might just, only, they have two kids or, two family members that are willing to do it. It's a volunteer basis, obviously. But usually, if you have more than one person, it keeps the other person accountable. So that's why sometimes that's recommended.
Can you comment on whether the name Michael Steenberg is potentially involved?
Michael Steenberg?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have a comment for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions today? Could you check the phone?
Unless you have other comments today?
No. The only thing is, like I said, this campaign could have come out 3-4 years ago, and it would be just as effective. It's one of these crimes that are kind of behind closed doors. So a lot of them, like someone mentioned, could be a family related that they don't want to report to police. They don't want to get their family member in trouble because they also double up as their caregiver as well. But at the same time, other times they don't even know this is happening to them. So majority of these cases that come to us is not reported by the senior themselves. It's reported by someone at the bank, another caregiver, or a family member, another family member. So I'm glad we were able to put this out, and going forward, I'm hoping that this message is effective and will help some of our seniors from here on.
Detective, you were also mentioning, I know we mentioned it in the news release too, that sometimes these files are coming to our attention, EPS and other police agencies, through the long-term care facilities as well. Just from basically they're not able suddenly to cover their expenses because they realize the money isn't in the account anymore.
That is a very common thread of how it comes in sometimes. We don't even know about it until they run out of the money. And a lot of these care facilities that are collecting their monthly rent, all of a sudden the checks bounce. And they start collecting into arrears of thousands of dollars, and then they end up calling the police. They call us, we investigate, we realize somebody has been assigned power of attorney that has not been very responsible with the money. And so our investigation begins from there. And oftentimes it's years in the making. It's not like they just started doing this for 1 or 2 months. It's been years. So these investigations can be complex, and it does take time. But in the end, we really want to bring justice to our seniors.
Hey guys,
Thank you.
thanks for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.